Welcome to our webinar today. Today's webinar is our Design Science Alumni webinar. Thank you all for joining today. I'm Alicia Markey. I'm the recruiter for Design Science, and we are joined by our alum. He'll introduce himself in a second. I just wanted to go over what we're going to cover today. We have our alumni overview, and then we'll open it up for any questions that you all have, and I have some questions ready for him as well. And then we'll cover our application deadlines because we have one coming up actually this Saturday, March 15th. So really close here. And then contact information in case there's any questions that come up after the webinar, please don't hesitate to reach out. So I'm going to allow our esteemed alum to introduce himself.
Hello, thank you for the intro, Alicia. My name is Matt Pirone, and I am from the Design Science class of 2020, I believe. Time really does fly. So I'll just do a quick intro and run through of my backgrounds through my grad education, and then talk a little bit about where I am now, and then also obviously speak to the Design Science program. So I started my educational journey at the University of Michigan in the biomedical engineering program. Um, I was drawn to that in engineering. I think partially I was kind of shuffled into that space because I was just always into science and math. But I really enjoyed my time in that program. I was really into, like I said, engineering, science, a little bit of like the medical aspects, and just driven by wanting to make improvements in people's health, the human body. The biological component was really cool. So yeah, I really liked my degree, and through that journey, I went through lots of hills and valleys and pivots, and trying out a whole bunch of different stuff as many do in undergrad, exploring the fields of like medicine, so experimented with pre-med. I worked in a lab, then realized, okay, maybe I don't like focusing on the human body with that level of specificity. So then I got into, I took some public health classes and psychology, focusing on the human mind. So I'm someone who really likes learning a, a little about a lot, but also a lot about a lot, um, which I think is a theme that ultimately and had me going into the design science program. But by the end of my engineering career, I think I was still a little bit lost with what I wanted to do because I had a taste of so many different things, and I really liked engineering and making things, but I found that I was a lot more interested in the problems, I guess, rather than the solutions. Obviously, it's very important to solve problems, but I felt like I wasn't focusing on the problems enough. Um, Things you would kind of just like get a problem or a prompt or told to make something, and you couldn't really push back on like, why are we doing this, or why are these the specifications or the requirements. So I was just a little bit confused, to be honest, on what I wanted to do and what I was interested in. And by the end of my engineering career, I wasn't positive I really wanted to be an engineer. Something that did provide a lot of clarity was, even though I was in the biomedical engineering program, I did my capstone design project through the mechanical engineering department because I did the Global Health and Design Initiative, which is housed in ME. And it recruited students from all over engineering. Our team happened to be all biomedical engineering students because it was a biomedical challenge space. But part of that program was learning about something called socially engaged design, which there is a center for social engaged design in the mechanical engineering department that focuses on teaching human-centered design or socially engaged design principles and approach. Um, and that I feel like was the first thing, like the first concept in my engineering journey that I like really fell in love with, to be honest, and to sound a little bit cheesy, because it focused on all the right aspects of discovery and exploration and defining challenges and really understanding the why and the purpose and the values behind it. Um, it was interdisciplinary, so it focused on stakeholder analysis, getting yourselves and other seeing from other perspectives, and then creating solutions that were actually needed rather than just kind of being told to do something and then doing it the best you could within the space that was already defined. Um, so yeah, that was how my biomedical engineering career, how it culminated. After that, I was never a biomedical engineer a day in my life. And again, I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. Through that experience, I also started working at the Center for Socially Engaged Design. So being unsure with what I wanted to do, and working at that center, I kind of took a gap year in between undergrad and figuring out what else I wanted to do. So I worked in the center as a program assistant, just working on strategy, finding opportunities there, and diving deep into the content of socially engaged design, which you might hear in other spaces called things like human-centered design or design thinking, but it's just the approach to solving problems. It has its own approach, its own methods and such. Um, and a lot of the faculty that support the Center for Social Engaged Design are actually in the mechanical engineering department. So over that gap year process, I kind of figured out I really want to deep dive in this approach. I really enjoy all the people that I'm working around. They all make me better, think better. And so my first step into grad school was actually pursuing a mechanical engineering master's degree. So 1 year after undergrad, I started that. And I was really enjoying a lot of the classes that I was taking. I was able to take classes in sustainability, mechanical engineering. There's a little bit of flexibility, but like a theme in my undergrad, I kind of realized I'm still not able to take all the classes that I really want to. This still isn't really broad enough for me. So I think um, 1 semester or so into that, I discovered the design science program and decided to tack that on to my grad studies as well. So after that point, I was a dual master's student, and for 2 years of grad school, I was working towards that mechanical engineering degree and a design science degree. Um, but like I said, I think something that the design science program offered me was a lot of flexibility to explore my passions and interests. And those spanned from engineering to psychology to sustainability and environmental engineering to business. Um, the program can really be whatever you make it. And I think as long as you have a strategy of what you want to do, it could be really powerful. So I wouldn't say I had a super, super strong strategy in what I wanted to do, but I was able to take courses over 2 or 3 main study areas, which were engineering, sustainability, and then also because of my involvement with the Center for Socially Engaged design process, just understanding of what is design, how do we approach it, how can we adapt it depending on the different uh, contexts or industries we are working in. Um, so that was through grad school. I also started working as a facilitator with the Center for Social Engaged Design. So in addition to understanding the content, I also got into kind of the curating it and creating with it and sharing it with other students and faculty around the university. And so I think that paired really well with the design science curriculum of understanding core content, understanding how to apply this into different spaces and different problems, and then how to kind of um, well, like they say in teaching something, it also helps you learn a lot more about it. So I think that helped progress my learning as well. Um, and I would say by the time I was rounding out grad school, I was really focused a lot on that facilitation aspect and the design process models. And so then I was looking for um, career career options that were in that space. But that was also a little bit challenging because a lot was really directed at application. Like, so kind of the issue that I ran into in undergrad is like this company is looking for an engineer or like a more technical design role. And I still didn't really think that those were fitting. So it took me some time, but I was able to find roles with Ford being a design thinking catalyst, which matched my facilitator role really well, what I was doing at CSED. Um, and then nowadays I work at Sherwin-Williams in a very similar role that's called a design thinking analyst. So between those two jobs in industry, I've been focusing on sharing the design process and approach with the different teams across the companies. It's a lot of coaching, it's a lot of facilitation, a lot of strategy. And something that I found myself starting to learn and do while I was at in the design science program and at CSED was community building. So like how to create safe spaces for people to want to learn from each other and just share their learnings. That is a lot of the role as well because in industry, I'd say there's even less space, I think, for people to want to learn more and try new approaches just with tight deadlines and such. Um, so yeah, that was kind of my educational and early career process. But just going back to the design science program, I really think that the key feature of what inspired me to choose it was the flexibility. Because at that time I was in the mechanical engineering department. I had a pretty good experience with it. I like to say that I took the least technical mechanical engineering program that anyone probably could because it was focused a lot on design process. But design science kind of necessitates you getting outside of your core field, I guess. And so for me at the time, that was engineering, but it pushed me to take classes that were in just trying to think off the top of my head. Like I took a cognitive ergonomics class in IOE. I took sustainability and environmental engineering classes. My capstone design for design science actually was through a program out of the School of Information. So like a completely new school that I was learning, just kind of what were the mindsets in that space and worked on a project in that space, which I thought was really cool that I could do a capstone in a different school for my degree. So I really love that aspect because I'm somebody who loves to have a broad way of thinking about things. Um, and I think what I like most about their program is that, but also that you're surrounded by a lot of people who think the same, they think the same way, but differently. So, let's just call me like a engineering design process sustainability person. There might be someone to the left of you who has like one of those interests, and then somebody to the right who has a different overlapping interest. So everyone is kind of bound together by some common or core themes, at least in the way that they think, but also everybody's making it their own. So somebody might focus more on business or computer science or whatever it is, but everybody thinks similarly, and it just creates a really nice, inspiring environment to learn from others, and to work together, to collaborate, bounce ideas off of each other. Um, and what stood out about the design science program to me was I really just the same thing, how it pushes you to take classes in different schools and different departments. You get to meet different professors that who you wouldn't normally work. So like in my mechanical engineering degree, all the professors were in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, which was great, but there are a lot of professors all over the campus. And so you're going to get to meet other professors, faculty members who can just expose you to new concept, new ways of thinking. You're going to meet a lot of other students along the way as well. And I think it just creates a really well-rounded approach to thinking. So to me, the main value of the design science program is just kind of training your way to think and be curious and learn, and always put yourself in a position to be of value and think a little bit differently than maybe other people around you are thinking. So just kind of increasing diversity of thought in a way. Um, yeah, I think that's kind of what the main parts of what drew me to the program, what I liked about it. And I do think it was very influential in getting me in the roles that I am now. That, like I said, which focus on coaching, facilitation, strategy. Um, I don't think I would have gotten these roles without this degree and my work with the Center for Social Engaged Design. And I also absolutely did not even know roles like this existed when I was in undergrad. So I think that it's some people ask me, like, do you feel guilty or bad about doing a biomedical engineering degree and then never being a biomedical engineer in the real world? And I always just say no because I think of each step of my journey is what got me to the next step. And I wouldn't have found socially engaged design if it wasn't for biomedical engineering. And if I didn't find socially engaged design, I wouldn't have found the design science program. So it all builds on each other. And I've definitely pulled it together in a way that works for me, and I'm really happy with what I'm doing and the people I've met along the way.
I love that. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah.
I had just a few questions. I mean, you covered it so well, but I know that what you brought up is so key to the program because it is so broad that you can take courses kind of from all across the university, engineering or like you said, School of Information or even business courses too. Uh, do you remember? I know you brought up some courses, but do you remember like a favorite course that you took or courses that you took?
Yes. I So just to flip that around for a second, I don't remember taking anything I didn't like. Like every class that I took, because you have the flexibility, like you pretty much can just take things you're interested in. I didn't really think anything was like, oh, I just have to get through that one. And so even like the core classes in the program though, the analytical, I do not remember all of the names, but there's like the first design project course. I think it's analytical product design. The course on design process models I really enjoyed, and then I guess the ones that I was able to elect more, customize more for myself. The sustainability classes um, stood out, and also design optimization class stood out. That one was a little bit challenging for me at times, is pushing my technical ability, but I learned a lot through that. And yeah, I just have like really, really positive memories of those classes. Also, the cognitive ergonomics class was super cool. So yeah, those are just what come to mind. But I honestly didn't take a class that I didn't enjoy.
Nice to hear. So, what could you explain a little bit more in depth on what you're currently working at in your position right now?
Yeah, so right now I work at Sherwin-Williams as a design thinking analyst. Um, and I'm on a team called the Design Thinking Team that's housed within the user experience team. So a lot of my colleagues are more into the like the designing of apps, web pages, and understanding the human user experiences within those spaces. So there's the designers, and then there's also researchers on the team as well who are trying to understand those needs. We kind of we are a very small team of 3 people on our larger team of 40. So it is a very small capacity. We're at a small capacity, but we kind of bridge the gap between those teams and then also work with other teams across the company who are trying to work more human centered in a more human centered way, or bring more innovative ideas into their work. Just kind of break down silos in terms of being able to work with teams that they know they should work with but haven't, and just kind of break the way that they think about things because it's really easy to kind of get stuck in your own ways and it feels like there's never enough time to try something new. So we're there as just kind of a little nudge and to try to make it easier to talk with your users, to have a dedicated brainstorming or ideation session. Really define your problems or challenges that people are having and try to call out your assumptions through that process. So, and that, like I said, I worked at Ford before this, and it was a very similar role. So I got very lucky with having 2 roles that were almost identical, just in different contexts. Um, and I think I'm still kind of building that confidence or trust in like these roles exist. And I think finding 2 roles like this back to back has definitely increased my confidence, I guess, in knowing that, well, hopefully there are other roles like this out there too. And I'm very happy with where I am. But I think that this is kind of a increasing field or a need at companies where they're looking for people who can come in and try to provide this level of support.
Well, I think it's super necessary. Would you recommend this program to others? I mean, it kind of seems like you would, but
Yes, that is an easy yes. And I think just because of working through the program, I know that there are a lot of people like me who like to have, I guess, like multiple hands or feet in a bunch of different fields. And I think it works really great for that. And I'm sure it would work great for people who maybe aren't like that naturally, but aren't exactly sure what they want to do. I think it could help you kind of identify a lot of different doors or options along the way. So like even if you're somebody who's like, I'm definitely into this one specific thing. If you have even just like a minor interest in some other things, you can definitely still specialize in that and then just kind of like complement yourself in some other fields, whether it's engineering and business and sustainability or whatever it might be, you can really tailor the program to your needs, whether that's like deep diving as much as allowed or kind of spreading your chips out as much as you are allowed and can as well. So I would definitely recommend it.
What advice would you give a new student starting the program?
Um, I guess being okay kind of taking some risks and putting yourself out there because it's a very, very participatory program. And I think as much as you put into it, you will get out. Like every course in as far as I remember, every course involves a project to some extent, which is group work, which is presentations, which is reports. They're not as bad as they sound, and some people are probably like, "Oh, reports," but like it's all very representative of work that you actually do in the real world, like how you're going to deliver your updates and your findings. And I think it's something where you can sit more on the outskirts and kind of just like get through, if you wanted, and you can feel a little bit uncertain about it. But if you put yourself out there and just dive into the concepts, dive into the content, dive into the testing and the trying with the work, I think it'll be a lot better to learn and fail in that environment than later down the line, like in the real world. And it'll really just push your ability to understand the nuances of the different processes and the topics. And I mean, if it comes down to it, wanting to find like a job afterwards, I think it'll accelerate a lot of the learning curve that can come with talking about projects and talking about experiences and your interests and how certain things can apply to that specific role um, that you're looking at. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of just general life advice, but I mean, really applying it to this though, like you will get out of it what you put in, and so just try to really dive into it and push the boundaries of what you're comfortable with.
No, so true. Thank you for that input. Hopefully that has pushed people's interest to apply. The deadline for a design science program is this Saturday, March 15th. So just keep that in mind. So it's still time to apply by Saturday. If you're looking for the PhD program, that deadline has passed. That was December 15th, but as you know, next December is already coming, so keep that in mind. And then the regular admissions deadline for our master's program for next semester will be December 15th for the fall 2026. So that application isn't open yet because we're just focused right now on our fall 2025 app that closes on March 15th. So what you need to apply, there is an application fee, $75 for domestic students, 90 for international. The minimum GPA is a 3.0. Our average GPA that we see is a 3.5. 3 letters of recommendation. This can come from faculty, professors, or if you're working, supervisors and managers, or a combination of the two is great. The GRE is not required. Your resume and your curriculum vitae you'll supply. Your academic statement of purpose and personal statements are the 2 written parts. And then we'll need your official transcripts. And then if you're an international student, those English proficiency exams as well. I wanted to share again my contact information. If you have any questions that come up, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I love answering your questions. That's my job, please. And if you have any questions for Matt, email me and then I'll reach out to Matt to see if he has time to take your, okay, to see if he has time to take your questions. Looks like he does, but still email me and then I'll forward you along and kind of do an intro like introduction between you guys. But yes, so just please feel free to email me. I'm always happy to set up like a Zoom or a phone call too, but email works best for me. So I just want to say a huge, huge thank you to our esteemed alum, Matt, for joining us and giving his time and explaining everything so well and just sharing his experience through the program. So thank you so much for Matt for joining us. I so, so appreciate it. Hopefully all of you enjoyed it as well. Thank you, Matt. And as always, go blue. Thanks all. Appreciate it.